Have you ever scrolled through social media and realized that some of your smartest, most interesting friends haven't updated their profile picture in years? Or maybe they don't post any photos of themselves at all. No selfies, no story updates, no vacation photos, nothing. In a world where almost everyone is constantly broadcasting their lives, sharing every meal, every trip, and every outfit, choosing not to post your face can feel like a mystery. Why do some people decide to stay invisible online? Is it social anxiety, low self-esteem, or a desire for privacy? Or could it actually be a sign of high emotional intelligence, strong personal boundaries, and deep psychological confidence? Today, we are diving deep into the psychology of people who don't post their photos on social media. We will explore the hidden reasons, the neuroscience of online validation, and what this quiet choice reveals about a person's mindset, personality, and relationship with the modern digital world. To understand why some people stay off camera, we first need to look at what happens to our brains when we post a photo online. Every time you post a picture of yourself, your brain enters a high-stakes lottery for social validation. When the likes, comments, and views start rolling in, your brain releases a surge of dopamine. Dopamine is the neurotransmitter associated with reward, pleasure, and motivation. It is the exact same chemical mechanism involved in gambling, shopping, and addictive behaviors. Over time, your brain begins to connect your self-worth with digital feedback. A photo with hundreds of likes feels like a massive emotional high, while a photo with very few likes can spark quiet self-doubt. This creates a psychological cycle where you constantly need to post more, look better, and capture higher quality moments just to maintain that baseline of digital validation. Now, think about the people who don't post. By choosing not to share their photos, they are effectively opting out of this dopamine slot machine. They don't rely on strangers, double taps, or superficial comments to feel good about how they look or how their life is going. Their reward system stays internal. Psychologists often separate human motivation into two main categories: intrinsic motivation and extrinsic motivation. Extrinsic motivation comes from outside rewards, such as praise, social status, attention, or external approval. Intrinsic motivation comes from within, such as personal satisfaction, curiosity, inner peace, and authentic joy. People who regularly post selfies and personal updates are often operating under extrinsic motivation. They capture a beautiful sunset, a great outfit, or an expensive meal, and part of their enjoyment comes from sharing it so others can see it and validate it. On the flip side, people who choose not to post their photos are often deeply intrinsically motivated. They live the moment for the moment itself. When they go to a beautiful beach, eat a delicious dinner, or spend time with loved ones, the memory and the experience itself are fully satisfying to them. They don't feel the impulse to package their private experiences into public content. For them, a moment doesn't need to be seen by 500 people to be real or valuable. Another powerful psychological reason comes down to boundary setting and privacy management. In today's digital age, privacy has become a rare commodity. Social media platforms encourage us to turn our private lives into public performances. But people who withhold their photos understand the psychological power of maintaining boundaries. Psychologically, keeping your personal life private protects you from the emotional weight of public judgment. When your face, your home, your family, and your personal moments are plastered across the internet, you open yourself up to unwanted opinions, subtle envy, unsolicited advice, and constant comparison. People who keep their photos offline create a clear psychological vault around their real identity. They decide who gets access to their visual life, reserving their authentic self for real-world relationships rather than digital audiences. This brings us to one of the most significant concepts in modern psychology, the comparison trap. In 1954, psychologist Leon Festinger introduced the social comparison theory. It states that human beings have an innate drive to evaluate themselves by comparing their lives to the people around them. Before the internet, we only compared ourselves to our immediate neighbors, coworkers, and friends. Today, social media forces us to compare our everyday reality with the carefully curated highlight reels of millions of people worldwide. We compare our natural faces to heavily filtered photos and our ordinary Tuesdays to someone else's luxury vacation. People who don't post their photos often recognize this trap and actively protect themselves from it. By staying out of the posting arena, they reduce their vulnerability to physical comparison, body dysmorphia, and social competition. They are content with being who they are without needing to measure their appearance against an arbitrary digital standard. There is also a fascinating personality aspect to this behavior. Psychologists frequently use the Big Five personality model to analyze human behavior. One of these 5 traits is introversion versus extroversion. While extroverts often gain energy from social interaction, public visibility, and external stimulation, introverts recharge through quiet reflection, privacy, and meaningful one-on-one connections. An introverted individual may find the idea of broadcasting their face to hundreds of acquaintances mentally exhausting. For them, posting a photo creates an unnecessary social footprint that invites unwanted messages, questions, and attention. However, it's not just introverts who abstain from posting. Highly conscientious and pragmatic people, regardless of their introversion or extroversion, often see social media purely as a tool for information, news, or work, rather than a platform for personal exposure. They view their personal image as something private, not as a personal brand that needs constant marketing. Furthermore, we must talk about authentic identity versus digital persona. When you post photos online, you inevitably start curating a digital persona. You choose the best angles, the best lighting, the best moments, and the happiest expressions. Over time, a gap can form between your real life and your digital self. This gap can create a subtle psychological tension called cognitive dissonance, where you feel forced to live up to the polished image you've created online. People who avoid posting their photos eliminate this cognitive dissonance entirely. They don't have to manage an online avatar or worry about maintaining an illusion. What you see when you meet them in person is exactly who they are. Their sense of self is anchored in real-world actions, character, and genuine relationships, not in a digital gallery of curated pixels. Now, it's important to address a common misconception. Does not posting photos mean someone is insecure, secretive, or antisocial? Not necessarily. While some people may avoid photos due to low self-esteem or body insecurity, research shows that many non-posters possess high emotional security. True confidence often speaks softly. When a person is genuinely satisfied with their life, appearance, and accomplishments, they feel zero urge to broadcast them to prove anything to the world. Silence on social media is very often a sign of deep internal peace. In conclusion, choosing not to post your photos on social media isn't just a random habit. It is often a conscious psychological choice to protect your mental energy, safeguard your privacy, and live an intrinsically rich life. In a world that constantly demands your attention and visibility, choosing to remain quiet and private is a unique form of self-respect. Whether you post daily selfies or haven't uploaded a photo in 10 years, the key to mental health is simple. Make sure your self-worth comes from who you are when the screens are turned off.